you hear the sound of the bell, that means we have company. So I am just opening the front door and welcoming our good friend, James McCormick. Captain James, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning. Well, it's good afternoon here, and as I was listening to Greg speak on this new exciting show, let me tell you, I'm pumped up about this. Secrets from the inside. You know, we've all got some secrets somewhere, don't we?
Greg, are you going to share with James the currency to be on the show here about spilling secrets? I'll just give you a second to bring him up to speed.
Oh, goodness. Welcome aboard, Captain. Salutes to you. Salutes to you, to your folks, your guys back there in West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't plan to do a quick introduction because I'll turn it back to you pretty quick. Just really looking forward to hearing you.
Yep.
Chit chat, but to your guys, people don't know. With a gentleman, a lot of people are going to be listening this for the first time. The gentleman on the line right now is Captain James McCormick. He's actually a captain, a major, and a commander all rolled into one. That's a side joke, but it's great and it's true. And Captain McCormick is, I just call him, he's a military leader in the country and the world. He literally could and literally does represent all veterans. It's veterans. Everything else in the world is a chapter. Everything's a chapter. We're all chapters of the world. But he's talking veterans, and I'm talking the commander, McCormick here. He is a 3-time Purple Heart recipient, as Val, you and I well know. We've had him on the show. This is, I think, James's 3rd appearance, I think. And he has represented as national commander of the Military Order of the Purple Heart, 49,000 living Purple Heart veterans among us in the United States. And as I say, 1.2 million Purple Heart people have taken a bullet or died for the country since George Washington. So that's the gentleman we have on the line, as we say. You've heard that intro before, but that's for the folks that may not have listened in previously. So I welcome him to the show. I will also toss up my Tell Us a Secret, James. I know we've got lots to talk about today, but just like Val fessed up, she fessed up with a secret. And I don't know if you have a quick secret to share that you've never repeated or never said publicly, but I'm going to put myself on mute for a while and stop listening to myself bloody talk, as I used to say in Quebec. So I'll turn it over to you.
Hey, we like listening to you talk, Greg. I mean, you have a great radio voice, man. It sounds good. So a secret. I'm going to go back to my childhood. I was about 12 years old, and I was playing outside in rural West Virginia in the middle of the evening, and I saw a UFO. I mean, a no joke, a real UFO, and it wasn't an airplane, it wasn't a helicopter. And I remember standing outside, and it was probably around 9 o'clock at night on a Saturday night. The crickets were chirping. We lived very rural West Virginia. You didn't see the neighbors too much. You know what I mean? You could see houses in the distance, but we had this huge field, and I kept hearing this. It was like this, clearly a strange sound. And I looked up to the sky, and I saw something come just flying across the sky. It was probably looked to be about 13, 14 feet long, probably about 100 feet off the ground. It was in a long, looked like a long, elonged oval shape, and it had multiple lights going around it. I remember seeing green lights and purple lights and orange lights and yellow lights and white lights, and they were all just blinking as this thing went around, and it was making this crazy loud deet 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 sound when it flew over. So I go inside the house, and of course, people hear that and they're like, "Oh man, the guy's crazy." Well, people thought that because I went inside. And I told my grandmother, but she was the first one I ran into, and she says, "Did you hear that noise?" And I said, "Yes, I did hear that noise. I saw what that was." I said, it was a spaceship. It was a something, and I can't remember exactly the term that I used. And she just kind of looked at me kind of strange. Are you sure that wasn't like an airplane or a helicopter? I said, it wasn't a helicopter. It was making beeping sounds. I was old enough to know the difference. But, she told me, she said, look, don't tell everybody that that's what you saw. But there was a place to call to report UFO sightings. Okay. And I called this place. There was, I guess it was, my grandmother called the place and had me get on the phone. It was old days. You actually had to use your finger, and turn the dial to make the numbers work. And I gave this person on the other end of the line a detailed description. And they said if they were going to do any more investigation, they'd come out and they would see me. And no one ever came out. There was never a report in the newspaper. Never saw anything else about it again. But I kept it to myself. I really did. I buried it. And when all of this came out. Now, when I went overseas in the Army, both deployments to Iraq, I ended up being the 15-6 investigator on 2 UFO sightings in Iraq in and around the Euphrates River Valley. So both of them were pretty much in the same area. And essentially we had soldiers, and in one case we had 2 soldiers and 2 Marines. They were guarding a post together, and they saw strange lights in the sky moving around. And anyways, our commander had us go and question them and discuss what they saw. And there were some other weird things that happened with some captured Iraqis over there. And I don't want to make this show all about UFOs, but I have seen and definitely heard some things because in the questioning of these 2 captured Iraqi insurgents, they swore that they surrendered because they were approached by these 2 green orbs that floated around and explained to them that they would never make it to paradise if they continued doing what they were doing, and told them to surrender. And these guys came out and surrendered to a bunch of troops. There's a whole story about this as well that just came out with all these other service members coming out. But since I was a kid, I've always had this. I saw something that I definitely couldn't explain. Now, we were not anywhere near any military bases or training sites, and nobody had drone technology at that time. You're talking late 70s. You're talking late 70s, very early 80, 81 time period when that happened. And then, of course, 1991, when the other UFO sighting was seen, and I was a sergeant and asked to help an officer do the 15-6 investigation. And then when I was overseas the second time in Iraq in 04 and 05 as an officer, I became the OIC of a 15-6 investigation, which I always thought that was fascinating because, it was a luck of the draw. They didn't come look you out. They said, let's see here. Oh, James McCormick. Yep, he's going to be the NCO. Lieutenant Snuffy over at Bravo Company. Because they didn't want the officer and the NCO to have any association or have never worked together, because they didn't want the stories to corroborate, for them to kind of come together and potentially make up a story, or because they had a relationship, one would build the story. So the same thing happened to me when I was an officer. I was given a sergeant that I had never worked with in my life to become the NCOIC of this investigation. So that's my secret for secrets from the inside, folks.